Hey, what's up, people? Pizzal here, and continuing my journey through the Scream Factory Critters Collection Blu-ray box set. Today I want to talk to you guys about 1991's Critters 3. Now, this is partially going to be a review of the movie as well as a review of this Blu-ray release. And if you guys saw my reviews of Critters and Critters 2, you know that I love those movies, particularly Critters 2. I rented them often growing up. They were on cable television all the time, and I just love both those movies, but particularly Critters 2 for various reasons. But when it comes to Critters 3 and Critters 4, I can remember renting them from the video store maybe once or twice, but I didn't remember anything about either movie before checking out the Blu-ray releases. And after watching Critters 3 for the first time in many, many years, I can completely understand why. I only rented this movie once or twice and remembered next to nothing about the movie. Now, as a sequel to Critters 2, Critters 3 is a significant step down. You have less action. There's just less going on in this movie overall. There are fewer critters. The characters aren't as good. The narrative isn't as compelling. The movie doesn't have the kind of heart to it that Critters and Critters 2 had. It's also a really weird movie because Critters 3 and Critters 4 were intended to be two parts of the same movie. They were filmed back to back on what was clearly a very, very low budget, because Critters 3, quite frankly, it just looks completely cheap and cut rate. And the ending is this really cheesy, to be continued kind of thing. So it really feels like you're only watching, and I wouldn't even say half of a movie, to be perfectly honest with Critters 3. It's like you're watching just something that was thrown together at the last minute on a super cheap budget. And there's Critters 3. Now, the story revolves around our toothy little furballs attacking an apartment building, and now it's up to our favorite town drunk turned space bounty hunter Charlie to save the day. And along for the ride is a very young Leonardo DiCaprio. As a matter of fact, really the only notable thing about Critters 3 is that it was the big screen debut of Leonardo DiCaprio. And of all the flaws of Critters 3, there are two major, and I hate to use, I hate to say icebergs that sink this movie, considering that Leonardo DiCaprio is in the movie, and of course, Titanic, but the sense of humor in Critters 3 is not there. Now, one of the things I loved about Critters 1 and Critters 2 is the movies, they had a great sense of humor about themselves. Critters 3 doesn't. There's some critter gags in the movie, there's some one-liners in the movie, but they just really fall flat. And unlike Critters and Critters 2, Critters 3 just does not have the same kind of heart to it. Now, there is an angle in the movie in which our young lead is desperately trying to connect with her father or form some sort of bond with him, but the movie really doesn't develop that at all. So there's nothing really compelling about the storytelling here. There's nothing really compelling about the characters here, unfortunately, either. The movie's really low budget is such a detriment to the film as well, because it looks and feels incredibly low budget, particularly compared to, Critters 2, which was just, so open and so action packed. Critters 3 is confined to this apartment building. It feels very small. It feels very pedestrian. There's just not a lot going on in Critters 3 to sink your teeth into, for lack of a better turn of phrase. So yeah, definitely a disappointing follow-up to Critters 2. I definitely can't recommend it unless you are a hardcore Critters fan and completionist, but not a big fan of Critters 3. This Blu-ray for the film from Scream Factory is a pretty solid Blu-ray release. First, let's check out the presentation. There we have some nice artwork for Critters on the sleeve. The sleeve is reversible, and on the reverse we have this artwork. The back of the Blu-ray doesn't indicate any kind of fancy, elaborate transfer or restoration of the film. It basically just says 1080p, high definition, widescreen. I thought the picture quality was fine. The sound quality was also fine. I'd give the picture quality a 3.5 out of 5. Same with the audio quality. As far as extras are concerned, first up, we get You Are What They Eat, the making of Critters 3. It's 26 minutes and 27 seconds in length. It includes interviews with producer Barry Opper, Critters designers and supervisors, the Kyoto brothers, screenwriter David J. Scow, and director of photography Thomas Calloway. They discuss the decision to shoot Critters 3 and 4 back-to-back as two parts of the same movie. Scow discusses being on the set of Critters 2 and discusses getting the gig to write Critters 3 and Critters 4. They discuss the idea of taking the series out of the sticks and into the city, but the city on a tight budget. They discuss the director Christine Peterson. They discuss the tight budget and shooting schedule, creating a lot of compromises on the set. They discuss Leonardo DiCaprio getting cast in the film. Terrence Mann discusses his brief cameo in Critters 3. The Kyoto brothers discuss the design of the Critters. Barry Opper discusses how they were editing Critters 3 and 4 at the same time, with only 1 week of downtime between wrapping 3 and beginning production of Critters 4. Very nice, informative making of documentary about Critters 3. We get a trailer, a promo, and a still gallery for the film. We also get a commentary with producer Barry Opper and star Don Opper, moderated by Buzz Wallach. I listened to about 40 to 45 minutes of the commentary. In it, Barry Opper discusses talking New Line Cinema into making Critters 3 and 4 by saying that they'd make 2 movies for the same budget as the original Critters, which the original Critters was not a hugely budgeted movie, so they talked New Line into greenlighting Critters 3 and 4, 2 movies basically for the price of 1, and it definitely shows. They discuss the casting process, including how Leonardo DiCaprio was cast. They discuss how they planned out doing 2 films back-to-back that were to function as 2 parts of the same film. Barry Opper discusses hiring David Scow to write the screenplay. They discuss the shooting locations and more. Very nice commentary for Critters 3, at least for about the 40 to 45 minutes that I listened to. This is a pretty solid Blu-ray release for Critters 3 from Scream Factory. I'm not a big fan of Critters 3. As I said, I think it's a pretty significant step down from Critters, and especially Critters 2. There's just not a lot to this movie, unfortunately, but this is a pretty solid Blu-ray release for the film. You get a nice commentary and a pretty informative making of for the film as well. But again, no elaborate restoration or anything like that for the film, although the picture quality and sound quality were both solid. If you've seen Critters 3, please let me know your thoughts on it down in the comments section below. If you like this video, please leave it a thumbs up. If you're not following me on social media, those links are in the description. They're also right around here. As always, thanks so much for watching. I really appreciate it. And keep your eyes peeled as I wrap up my journey through the Critters Collection Blu-ray box set from Scream Factory with my review of Critters 4. Till then, take care, and until next time, peace. Join the $1 a Month Club and help support my channel on Patreon. Thank you to my current patrons, Kevin Smythe, Orc145626, B-Movie Mike, Robert Sobel, Turi Delamore, Stephen Flanagan, Lori Holt, Mitch Odell, Farron Sutton, Craig Farrand, Jeremiah Lambert, Grindhouse Grotto, Joseph Charlesworth, Chris Earls, Derek Jana, Demon Waffles, Simon Clark, Stone Gassman, Zachary Barton, Mr. Bibby 86, James Welch, Eli Geisler, Jeff Overing, Alan Scott, Kyle McGuire, Jay the Stingray, Lauren Dixon, Travis Davis, Dave Barnes, Jonathan Lundy, Chris Parsons, Chris Gonzalez, and Trenton Bowser. Say hello to the internet, Jeremy.
Hello to the internet.